Iya.
Okay, Bu Isnaya, we can start now, please.
Okay. Well, Ajay, you start.
Yeah, we can start from now. Please start.
Panggil rektor, Bu. Panggil rektor ya. Itu dosen juga.
Mohon maaf untuk semua partisipan bisa di mute terlebih dahulu. Kita bisa memulai acaranya pada siang hari ini. Silahkan Miss Isnaya. Please kindly to start
Alright, thank you, Ms. Ajeng. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Your Excellency, the Dean of Psychology Faculty, Professor Taufik MSc PhD. Your Excellency, the Head of Psychology Department, Mrs. Lucy Nurianti, MSc PhD. Honorable our speaker, Dr. Tommy Hendricks from Tilburg University, Netherlands. Honorable Mrs. Ajeng Novadum Pratiwi as a moderator today. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, the participants of this general lecture. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
First of all, let's pray and praise to God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, because of His bless and mercy, we can attend and participate in this great event without any obstacles and full of benefit, inshallah. Secondly, let's greet and pray to our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who had brought us to the path of light and left the darkness behind. Today is a great honor for me to be a Master of Ceremony in Studium General on Positive Psychology, and allow me to read the structure of this event. Okay, the first agenda is opening, and the second is forward and speech from Head of Psychology Department. And the next agenda is presentation of general lecture material from the speaker, which will be handled by the moderator and followed by discussion session. And the last agenda is closing. So ladies and gentlemen, let's open this beautiful meeting by reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Forward and speech from the Head Psychology Department, Mrs. Lucy Nurianti, MSc PhD. The time is yours.
Thank you, Bu Isnaya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Is my voice clear? You can hear me clearly? Okay. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. The praise to Allah for all His blessings. So today we can join to this Studium General. On behalf of our Dean, Prof. Taufik Kasteri, and all the staff in the Faculty of Psychology, UMS, I only want to say thank you to Dr. Tommy Hendricks for his willingness to join with us in this Studium General. Also to his friends, sorry, excuse me, I couldn't find the name. Pak siapa Pak tadi ya, yang bahasa Jawa?
Wenli Sarjo.
Oke,
Wenli, ya.
Sarjo ya. Wenli Sarjo, matur nuwun, sampun kerso rawuh di kuliah umum hari ini. Thank you for joining us as well, and also sorry the other one I also can see in the screen for the name. Thank you very much for joining us and share your knowledge and experience to our students. It's really an honor for us to listen your experience and knowledge in this. Sorry, bisa di mute semua peserta, please. Can you mute? Yes, thank you. Okay. And most of all, also thank you for all our students to join to this Studium General. this topic is about positive psychology. So I hope it will broaden your perspective on psychology and will be benefit you with lots of knowledge and maybe experience from our speakers. Okay, so I will not say long. I think that's all. Thank you, and thank you for everyone. And let's we enjoy this lecture today. And should I open this part of it? So we can start the lecture. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you to Isnaya.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mrs. Lucy. Turn to the next agenda is the lectures of positive psychology that we have been waiting for. We have a professional speaker today, and we will be guided by a moderator to listen about the lecture and discuss more in the question and answer session. To our beautiful moderator, Mrs. Ajeng Novadum Pratiwi, Psikolog, the time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Isnaya. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, Sir Tommy and Sir Wenli. Okay, let me introduce myself briefly. I'm Ajeng Novadum Pratiwi, and I'm a psychology department staff. And today it's an honor for me, and I will be moderator for today's Studium Generale. And today we have two great speakers, Dr. Tommy and Sir Wenli, and come from Netherlands and Suriname, and they will explain about the positive psychology. And before we start this event, let me show you their CV first briefly. If you don't mind, Sir Tommy, I will show your...
Yeah, perhaps read it.
Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I will read briefly about the Dr. Tommy. Yeah?
Sorry, can you maximize the screen?
This is a Word format.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'll try.
The corner of the, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It's clearly enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I will read briefly. Dr. Tommy Hendrik is a researcher and internship coordinator of the master program Positive, Okay. Positive Psychology and Wellbeing at Tilburg University, the Netherlands. Yeah, we know Tilburg University is alma mater of Professor Taufik as well. He attained his postgraduate doctoral degree at the University of Amsterdam in 2018, focusing on the cross and intercultural applications of positive psychology intervention. His main field interest is refugee well-being, student well-being, and developing character strengths through yoga and Safi-based meditation. He is a guest professor at the University of Suriname, where he has developed the bachelor program Introduction in Positive Psychology and the master program Positive Mental Health. He is also an associate editor at the International Journal of Applied Positive Psychology. And the second speaker, we have Sir Wenli Sarjo, born in Suriname from Indonesian descent. Grandparents from mother's side were immigrant, born in Indonesia, Central Java, Solo and Banyumas. We have the same place. Grandparents from father's side were born in Suriname. Probably their parents were immigrants too. Graduate in 1991 from the University of Suriname as an electrical engineer. Wenli is a CEO of an electrical engineering and construction company that he started, which grew to one of the biggest companies in this sector in Suriname. Reached his master's degree in business administration and bachelor's in psychology, industrial and organizational psychology, did his bachelor thesis on applying positive psychology in Suriname, and was the co-organizer of the first randomized controlled positive psychology trial in the Caribbean. we know that interesting educational background of Sir Winley. Currently, he lives in the Netherlands following Master Health Psychology Digital Intervention at the Erasmus University in Rotterdam. So we can know how great our speakers today. And Sir Tommy, if you're ready, we can start our lecture from now. And I'll counting, we start in 1:11 p.m. and we end the lecture in 2:11 p.m. And for this lecture, we divided into 2 sessions, 45 minutes for a lecture from Sir Tommy and Sir Winley, and 15 minutes for question and answer sessions. Sir Tommy, are you ready?
Yes, I only want to have the, now you switch the screen so I can't see anybody anymore.
Okay. I'm sorry. yeah.
It doesn't matter, but the technology is always, I have to get the second screen out. Let me see. There's so many screens.
Tommy, co-host, Bu Ajeng.
Okay. I've made Sir Tommy as a co-host.
I have to, well, close all these screens.
Okay.
And now the screen is gone and my.
Okay. If you need help to search your screen, maybe I can.
Yeah, I got it now. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, I'll start then, inshallah. Thank you everybody for attending in such great numbers. And well, first I would like to thank Professor Taufik for inviting me today. And I'll also like to thank Ajeng for co-hosting, and everybody at the Faculty of Positive Psychology. And of course, I would like to thank Allah for all the opportunities He's given me to give the presentation. Yes.
The audience now more than 400
yes,
people.
I see. So yes, my gratitude also goes out to Allah, of course, and the Prophet. I will start the presentation now. I have about 40 slides, but I don't know if I have time to explain every slide. So let's see how we get through the conversation. And at the end of the presentation, Wensley will also tell something about the project he is doing. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to, well, we have had in the introduction, and now I will start telling something about what is positive psychology. What do we mean with positive psychology 1.0 and 2.0? Then I will tell something about positive psychology in a cross-cultural context. Then positive psychology in Islamic context in particular. And then I will shortly explain what directions psychology will take.
Excuse me, can you share your screen now?
Oh, is it not shared?
No.
Okay.
Not yet. Not yet.
But then.
Okay.
Sudah di-dump filenya, Dung?
Okay.
Do you have the file?
Yeah, I have Mr. Tommy screen. Okay.
Do you have the screen now, the share screen?
Not yet, still blank. Okay.
Is it, do you see now?
Yeah, it is okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see your screen.
Okay, now we're ready to go. Yeah, the first slide. This is actually my, the woman on the right side is my great grandmother, Lotte. And she was actually from Indonesia. And then on the other side, you also see my great grandfather here, the man, the Dutch man, the white man that is here. And this is the whole family. So from my mother's side, so my grandmother, my great grandmother, they were from Indonesia, from Salina, which is, I think, near to where you are currently residing, in Central Java. And in the 1950s, when when Indonesia became independent, after that, many people from Central Java moved to the Netherlands back again, and they stayed in Den Haag. So I grew up actually with many of the traditions from Indonesia, particularly the great food. So therefore, it's also a very nice opportunity for me to have this presentation of my passion, psychology, with people with whom I share some of the roots. So what is positive psychology? Positive psychology, there are several different definitions of positive psychology. Some definitions are really long and difficult. I will stick to the very simple definition by one of the founders of positive psychology, Christopher Peterson. And he basically said, positive psychology studies what makes life most worth living. So we study in positive psychology how people can flourish, how people can function optimally. Because, for example, in traditional psychology, we mostly study what is wrong with people. We study sickness, neurosis, pathology, illness. The psychology will focus on, ask the question, what is wrong here? And positive psychology wants to bring the balance back again in psychology, because it focuses more on what is right about you. It focuses on topics like satisfaction in life, about well-being. That's the topic we study. Positive emotions, positive relationships, meaning, engagement. So all these topics are how people can flourish and become more satisfied in life, enjoy life more, function optimally, or be happy. They are studied in positive psychology. And yeah, here's a graph why it was necessary, positive psychology. Here you see a graph, and on top you see all the studies to 2003. This is an older study, but these were all the studies from 1997-8 on anxiety and depression. There are 90,000 studies worldwide on depression and 60,000 on anxiety. That was 20 years ago, but the tendency is still there. Could somebody turn off the sound? Everybody turn off their mute their microphone.
Okay, I'll help for that, and I'll mute all the participants right now.
Yes. And below you have the studies 20 years ago on well-being, which is really, there were a few hundred studies. Well, there were almost 100,000 studies on depression. So that's why positive psychology is necessary, because we are human beings. We're not only, we have so much to offer. We can be so valuable in life, while positive psychology usually only focuses on what is wrong with people. And this can be explained. There are many reasons for that. It's too much to go into that. But one of the causes is that the way our brain functions, there is a negativity bias. So our brains, they tend to focus more on the one thing that is bad in life. And we focus completely on that. Well, there are so many good factors. And this is through evolution. This has many different explanations, for example, from evolution perspective. But our mind tends to focus on what's wrong, while our heart tends to focus more on what is good in life. And positive psychology wants, through research, wants to bring back that balance into psychology. Then you have all these kind of topics. I mentioned some of them earlier before, like positive psychology studies what makes people happy, studies the functions of hope, of resilience, of forgiveness, It studies the functions of meditation, humor, gratitude, love. There are really many topics now that are being studied by positive psychology. The roots of positive psychology, it is not new. In the 1950s, every student of psychology must know the name of Abraham Maslow. Maslow, his motivational pyramid functioned on, it focused on how can people self-actualize, how can they grow. And in the 1950s, this whole stream started of humanistic psychology. Carl Rogers was part of that, Gordon Allport. There are many, researchers who did in the 1950s already, but it never really broke through in the academic sphere. There are many therapists who applied humanistic psychology, but on the universities, people kept on mostly focusing the research on what's wrong. But positive psychology basically builds on everything that has done in psychology before. The movement actually started officially in 1998. That was the year that Martin Seligman became president of the American Psychological Association. He, in his inaugural speech, he presented his vision of psychology, and he said that positive psychology would be a new focus in psychology to bring back the balance in life. And he wrote a very influential paper in 2000, together with Csikszentmihalyi, another researcher, and where they presented the idea of positive psychology. And from that moment, it became, it started growing. Here's another nice photo of Mr. Wentley. A few years ago, we went to a positive psychology conference in Florida. Here you see the students from Suriname as well, and they met Martin Seligman. And if you want to know more about positive psychology, go to YouTube, type in Martin Seligman, and you will find very interesting, many speeches of Martin Seligman. Very kind man also, and humble. So what he has been at the forefront of many of the theories, and one of the theories he postulated was of PERMA, the PERMA model. And he said to become a human being who's functioning optimally and who enjoys well-being, 5 factors are important in life, and he called it the PERMA model. And the P stands for positive emotions. One of the ingredients to become happy and to have well-being in life is to have positive emotions. The E stands for engagement. For example, in your work, that you really like what you're doing, that you're really engaged in the work you do. The R stands for relationships, positive relationships. We are not only happy if we ourselves are happy, but we are happy when we are happy with other people around us and have good relationships. Meaning has a higher connotation. Meaning can also be religion. What gives you meaning in your life? What drives you? Why do you think you are on earth? Why do you think we are here as human beings? And then the A stands for accomplishments. This makes people happy when they set out a goal and they achieve a goal in life. That people have desires, and if you accomplish a desire, you become, that's part of being happy or having well-being. That's the PERMA model, and he also spoke about authentic happiness, and that means that we people are different, and people strive towards 3 types of life. Some people strive for the pleasant life, and that means that they mostly focus on having pleasures in life, doing nice things, being simply happy. They don't search for meaning, but they're more busy with either their family or with more hedonistic, we'll go into that later, about having as much as pleasurable experiences. Other people want to have a good life. That means that they have both the positive emotions, but also use their strengths to have a good relationship with the family, with their work, being a good parent, being good at their job. So that's their life. And some people have a meaningful life where they want to contribute to society as a whole, to something, to serve to something larger than yourself or your family. For example, everybody who's the people who are working, religious people, for example, they are the main thing when they become happy, when they focus on working, doing the work of God. So these are two very influential theories of Martin Seligman. I will not discuss all the theories I have because that would be too lengthy. I will highlight some of the ones most important ones. Theory of subjective well-being, that's also very important. There are basically two forms of well-being. One is called subjective well-being, and subjective well-being studies what makes people happy. So subjective well-being is having as much possible positive emotions, having few negative emotions, and feeling satisfaction in life. That's the hedonic approach of well-being, which was initiated by Ed Diener. And then you have more the psychological well-being. Carol Riff was one of the first ones who wrote about that. And that means that you become happy in life, not only by experiencing positive emotions, but have a deeper, more depth in your life. And positive well-being is like you have a purpose in life. You know what direction you want. You can accept yourself, self-acceptance. You have autonomy in your life. You control what's you can control to a certain extent what goes around in your life. You are able to grow in your life, to develop mentally. You have positive relations. And those factors can contribute to your well-being. So this is a different conception than negative or than subjective well-being. For example, it could be that you have a purpose in your life, you're really dedicated to your work, but the conditions are very difficult. You don't experience much positive emotions. If you work, if you really do some types of work, and I can imagine if you're working, for example, with people who are very sick or people who have schizophrenia, who are in trouble, you yourself may not always find, okay, I feel happy at the moment, but my life has meaning. You know, I grow through this work. The work is difficult. It doesn't always make me happy, but it makes me feel really that I have a purpose in life and that I gain knowledge. So then your psychological well-being would be more higher. And another important theory, Keyes continued to work the work on on psychological well-being, and he made a distinction between flourishing and languishing. And flourishing is that you flourish, that you become, that you can grow, that you feel good, and languishing is that you're working below your health. But this would also mean often we think people who have mental illnesses, they are not happy, but according to this model, that's not the case. I mean, you could flourish and still have a mental illness. A lot of people who are depressed are not depressed the whole time. They have certain episodes where they have their disease, but they still can flourish in life. On the other hand, if you look downwards here, languishing, that's the state where you have a low mental illness, so you don't have anything, there's no diseases, but you're still unhappy. And we know many people on the outside, that looks like they have everything. They have a good job, they have a family, they have a nice work, they have money, but still they are not happy. They're languishing, they're not fully functioning. And positive psychology mostly traditional psychology only looked at the people who have mental illnesses, but positive psychology also looks at the people who are languishing, so who are not sick, but still are not happy in their life and not functioning optimally. Then there is, this is also an important model and is a very interesting topic. This is one of the core topics in positive psychology, strengths and virtues. So traditional psychology has clearly mapped out what makes people not function well. We know what depression is. We know what schizophrenia is, borderline personality. All the pathology has been mapped. What positive psychology wants to do is have a counterpart to that and list every quality that makes people flourish in life. And they come up with a model, a 24 virtues and strengths and virtues model. And these are all the ingredients you need to have in your life to become stronger and to flourish. And all these aspects are studied. For example, teamwork. Teamwork is a very important strength. Somebody who is strong, working together with others in a team will function better. But also kindness and honesty, judgment, being able to judge a situation critically or be curious. They divided all the characters, all the strengths, the personal human qualities into a model that captures it with 24 main strengths. And there's a lot of research also going on that. For example, what are the benefits of forgiveness? You know, how can we apply forgiveness in our lives to grow? This is becoming a more interesting topic. It's the growth and fixed mindset. It turns out we can make a distinction about the mindset. Some people tend toward a fixed mindset. When you think, oh, I cannot do this and this will not work, this is too hard. While people who have a growth mindset, who think, yes, this is possible, this will work, I will try to do that, they function better in their lives. And positive psychology also tries to find interventions that will promote the growth mindset and let people change their mindset from the idea of I can't do it towards the growth mindset. So these were one of the few topics, theories in positive psychology. This lecture will be made available in a PDF afterwards. You can go through it again. At the end, there's a literature list. So if you want to know more about some of the studies that were presented earlier, you can find them yourself and read them. Basically, what I've discussed falls under the umbrella of what is called positive psychology 1.0. And this is the positive psychology. Most of the research, in fact, all of the researchers I mentioned, they were from the United States. So it's a very Western focused psychology. And it focuses on the positive and it focuses on the positive emotions and mostly about happiness. But it is also very individualistic. It's about me wanting to be happy. And of course, positive psychological well-being is also focused on positive relationship, but still it's very about the me. And this is one of the critics of people that, hey, positive psychology, it's too much focused on me, too much focus, hey, I want to be happy in life. And this is typically Western or American. So there's also, then after that came a second wave of positive psychology, which is called positive psychology 2.0. And it is more rooted in the Chinese philosophy, in Buddhism, and has a more collectivistic approach to well-being. Because one of the core tenets of positive psychology is 2.0, is that, you know, we should not only focus on our positive emotions, but we should also have room for negative emotions. We should learn to accept them better. So they're not focused only on what makes me happy, but also how can I get meaning out of what's wrong in my life, but how can I transform that negative more to either neutral or to the positive. It also has more focus on resilience, and resilience is the capacity to overcome adversity. It also has to do with transcending oneself to become a better person, and this again also leaves more room for the role of religion and spirituality in psychology. Except for in positive psychology, they have developed certain certain interventions, and these were typically developed by researchers in the field of psychology, positive psychology, like the gratitude letter. We can talk about that later. And in positive psychology 2.0, they have integrated some of the theories, or some of the interventions that, for example, mindfulness. Everybody, I think most people of you must have heard about the mindfulness meditation. So that's more meditational practice. It has to involve with being in the present. It has to deal with being more balanced, becoming aware of the body, and reducing the stress. So mindfulness is not particularly a positive psychology intervention, but it came around the same time as positive psychology emerged, and they have really adopted all the principles of mindfulness. So many positive psychology researchers also have focus on mindfulness. Stephen Hayes, this is becoming very popular, especially in the Netherlands at the moment, the acceptance and commitment therapy, where the focus how to accept negative emotions in life is very important. Being present, discovering your own values, and being committed to improve your life are one of the core aspects. So if you also want to, and I think this approach to psychology is more in line with non-Western societies. Yes, I would like Ajay. Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Tom.
Yes, I think no. Is everything still going good?
Okay, still.
Yeah, still, yeah. We can
maybe,
still, yeah.
Maybe you can translate the speaking of Tommy.
Could you ask Miss Lucy to turn off her camera, because I only see some hands moving and it's a bit distracting, or to have her higher. So because I only see fingers, it's really strange. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Tom, which one did I have to help you to translate?
Perhaps you could tell something about
not
the different
not all translate,
about happiness.
That's in brief. Okay.
Okay. In our discussion later, I just resume at the end. If in these sessions, maybe we are going to talk briefly about your talking before, Dr. Tom, that Dr. Tommy menjelaskan bahwa positive psychology memang memiliki banyak pengertian atau sudut pandang. Jadi dalam penjelasan Dr. Tommy di sini menjelaskan bahwa positive psychology adalah bagaimana secara garis besar adalah bagaimana membuat hidup manusia itu lebih bermakna, lebih meaningful, flourishing, atau lebih berkembang secara optimal dengan berbagai cara. Dan tadi disebutkan juga bahwa ada bagaimana manusia itu mencapai kebahagiaan, seperti contohnya ketika membuat keinginan, ya, and people will be happy if can attain the goal. And seseorang akan menjadi happy atau bahagia ketika mencapai keinginannya. Tapi tadi juga dikatakan bahwa harta, kemudian atribut-atribut duniawi lainnya tuh belum tentu mempengaruhi kebahagiaan seseorang gitu. Bisa saja tidak bahagia. Misalnya punya banyak harta tapi tidak bahagia, seperti itu. Jadi people who has wealthiness or has money too much, we can make sure that they feel happy. Is that right, Dr. Tommy? That
Yes.
happiness come from internal. Jadi kebahagiaan adalah
Yes.
seperti bagaimana kita memaknai kehidupan. Seperti
Yeah,
itu. Dan
I think
yeah,
you captured that really well. Subjective well-being is mostly comes from external pleasures. So you could say it is more focused on materialism, about buying things and eating food and having all these external stimuli to become happy, while psychological well-being is more focused on the internal. So more on the mind.
Okay. Baik, jadi Dr. Tommy mengatakan bahwa kebahagiaan itu tidak berasal dari apa yang bisa kita beli, apa yang bisa kita makan, atau pencapaian eksternal kita, tetapi tergantung pada kehidupan internal yang ada dalam diri manusia tersebut. And Dr. Tommy, I found some comment in the chat column, and maybe I'll read it for you after your lecture, or
The
I can read it.
now I switch to if I switch to the chat functions, my whole screen goes blank. So perhaps we could at the end.
Okay, sure. And you can start again your presentation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will also capture this very simple. Positive psychology 1 is focused mostly on the positive only, while positive psychology 2 is also focused on the negative emotions.
Okay.
Positive psychology 1 is focused on happiness and self-fulfillment, while my screen now goes away. This is strange.
Okay. Is everything okay, Dr. Tom? If you need the help, I can help you to share your screen. Okay, let me see.
Yeah. Okay.
In my screen, I just see your blank screen.
Yeah, please do not adjust. Let me be the moderator, otherwise my. Okay.
Yeah, now you can see your screen.
Yes, but now you have to make me the host again. Oh. Which screen do you see now?
19.
I see, yeah. Main slide number 19.
Hey, let me, because I have to get back to the main screen. Okay.
Sembari menunggu Dr. Tommy menyiapkan screen-nya, mungkin untuk teman-teman yang ingin mendiskusikan, bisa nanti disampaikan secara langsung, bisa raise hand terlebih dahulu, supaya nanti saya bisa unmute. Begitu ya teman-teman, saudara-saudari, atau bisa menulis di kolom chat, tapi saya akan memberi waktu terlebih dahulu untuk yang ingin menyampaikan langsung. Terima kasih. Oke, Dr. Tom, you can start again.
My screen is not. Okay, hopefully now. I have some technical problems.
Yeah, I think you have some problem with your
Yes.
PC or PPT, maybe. Yeah,
It says
still not
it's not
responding.
responding. It's not responding. Okay. Perhaps I should. I have to turn it on again, the PowerPoints. Okay, introduction. Slideshow from current slide. And let me see where I share screen. Let me see. Are we back on?
Yeah, we can see your screen clearly. And this is the 21 screen.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So now I will tell something more about practicality, positive psychology. For 12 years, I lived in Suriname, where I introduced the positive psychology. And in Suriname is a small country in South America. If you see the picture there on the left, it's above Brazil. And Suriname used to be a colony also of the Netherlands. The Netherlands had basically two large colonies. That was Suriname, and that was Indonesia in a couple of centuries ago. And Suriname is a country. There live about 550,000 people. So it's not that there live not many people. It's quite large, but it is still a country with a very diverse kind of people. Because, for example, 27% of the people who live in Suriname, they come from India originally. And 22%, they are the Maroons. So they're the descendants of the people from Africa who, when they came to Suriname, they fled the plantations and they lived in the forests. And 16% is Creole. So they're more the lighter skinned people from Africa. And there's also about 14% of the people in Suriname is originally from Java. Wentley will tell a bit more about that. So the nice thing about the country, it is very diverse. It doesn't have one main culture. It has several cultures. And do you see slide 22 now?
Not yet. Still Suriname. Yeah.
Yeah,
22 now. Oh.
I just see the blank white.
I don't see anything anymore.
Tommy, could you send your PPT to Ajeng?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, yeah.
I have, Professor. Okay. If Dr. Tommy, never mind, I can help him to.
Perhaps you can.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, let me see. Now, can you see my screen?
I cannot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I can see
Yes.
it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you can leave that slide on, Ajeng. Slide 23.
Slide 23.
Yeah.
This is right. Yeah.
What I did in Suriname was that I did a program on positive psychology. It was a six-week program where we trained over 180 workers from several companies, and they followed a program of 6 weeks, 2-hour sessions. So they, for example, the first session was on resilience, where we trained them for resilience for 2 hours, and the week after that we did all kind of positive psychology emotion interventions.
Okay.
The study of that was, as you can see, I'm in the picture with Wentley as well. It was one of the companies of Wentley who participated. And we found that a 6-week program significantly increased the resilience of the people. and their mental well-being, and it lowered their depression and anxiety and their stress. This gives me a good opportunity to introduce Wentley, and he will tell something about himself and the work that he has done and is doing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tommy Hendricks. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Pak Ajeng, can I have the next slide, please? Okay, can you maybe maximize, do the presentation? All right, terima kasih. So this is some pictures from Suriname in the period of August 1890 to December 1939. There were approximately 33,000 immigrants from Indonesia, mostly from the island of Java, and more Central Java. The immigrants came to Suriname, and around 25% returned to Indonesia. So the rest of the immigrants, they stayed in Suriname, and which my grandparents were one of them. Nowadays, we have like 80,000 descendants from Indonesian immigrants in Suriname, and around 1975, when before Suriname became independent, a lot of those descendants moved to Holland, to the Netherlands, and currently there are approximately around 30,000 of the descendants living in the Netherlands. Most of the immigrants moved from Batavia, Jakarta, Semarang, or Tanjung Priok. They came to Suriname mostly for to work in the plantations after slavery has been abolished, and the immigrants needed to do the works into the plantations. If you see on the left pictures, those were the pictures from the immigrants arriving in Suriname. In the right corner, under, that is one of the pictures where at Idul Fitr, we have a square in Suriname where they do the prayers at Idul Fitr, and on those days we have like 2,000 people coming there and do the same prayers. We have in the picture in the middle, that is a picture of place we call Sona Budaya. That is the association where we commemorate the Japanese immigration. As you see in the middle top, one of the picture where you see a warung Sumatra, and like we see, it's also the name from one of the Indonesian islands. All right, can I have the next slide, please?
Yes. Okay.
Lots of cultural tradition, culinary, and the language from Indonesia is still being used in Suriname.
Mr. Wenley, if you want, you can mix your speaking English and Japanese.
Okay. I need to switch it also in my mind. So maybe I do the presentation first. Engko bisa ngomong Jawa ya.
Okay, perfect.
Ya, orang guyu toh, Pak. My parents, the thing is that the education is in Dutch language in Suriname. That's a formal language, and at home with our parents and grandparents, we still use the language. But as I said, we still have the cultural tradition. Islam is the biggest religion under the Japanese in Suriname currently. So we brought that from Indonesia. So we still practice that. As we see, one of the biggest and the best thing we got and we still have is the gotong royong. If we have like a house to build, then we use sambatan to help each other, so we can flourish. That's one of the things in positive psychology, is to work together, and so we can reach the form of well-being we want. And these pictures, I was project manager. We are building a school in Suriname. We have a foundation of Islamic groups. That's the biggest in Suriname, where we have like 60 mosques, masjid, where we gather together to build a primary school in Suriname. We have approximately like 1,000 people working on the project, and every weekend we have another jamaah come to do the sambatan with us. You see some of the pictures. Currently, the building is almost finished, and this is foremost the biggest project we've done with the gotong royong principle in Suriname, and the project is attracting a lot of attention from the Suriname people, because this is the way when we can grow together and help each other out. So I think this is this part for me. I will give the mic back to you if you have more question. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Sir Wenli.
Thank you.
Okay.
Turn one, Pak Wenli.
Yes. Yeah. So, do you hear me again?
Yeah. We can hear you clearly.
Yes. So the gotong royong system is a nice example of how the principles of positive psychology are applied in a different culture. It focuses on working together, on stimulating positive relationships, but also bringing hope to the people, a sense of community feeling, a sense of harmony. Because all the people who work on a project, they work for free. They don't, because normally if you build, you go to a contractor, and then it's a lot of very commercial process, and then development is very expensive. But with this system, everybody contributes, and you can build a school at very low cost, which will benefit the community. Because in countries like Suriname, the government doesn't have that much funding to build schools. And this is a very good way to communally build the project together. Everybody devotes one day of their week, of their time for a certain period, and then the whole community grows together. And it's one way that increases also not only the well-being of the individual, but of the whole group of people. And of course, the children who can get their education there and have a good building to study in, except and not in a really old building. Can I have the next slide?
Yeah. Good.
Can I have the next, because I have to cut down a bit on the,
Yeah.
one of the things I focused in my study is on we have positive psychology interventions, and that is interventions that are particularly developed in positive psychology and which can be applied to increase the well-being. And I did studies, I compared the studies of positive psychology interventions which were conducted in Western countries and those in non-Western countries. And I found that studies in non-Western countries have a larger effect. So in Western countries, there was a small effect, a small increase of well-being or depression, anxiety, where in non-Western countries, there was a moderate effect to large effect. So it appeared that positive psychology studies have more effect in non-Western countries. And can I have the next slide? So, and why was that? Well, there are, you could say that, you know, it's because there were less studies. You could also say that the studies were sometimes not with many people. So you could focus on the bias, but also look at other explanations. And the explanations I explored in my thesis was that positive psychology interventions, for example, they focus on emotions and not as much on mental exercises. So they're much more appropriate with people who are not as highly learned. For example, in Suriname, where people have a lower education, and they focus more on the emotions rather than on the thinking. They are less stigmatizing because, for example, also in Suriname, if you talk to people about psychology, they think you're crazy. So people will not attend a psychology intervention because they don't want to have the stigma of being called crazy. And positive psychology doesn't have that stigma because it focuses on your well-being. In positive psychology, many of the interventions are also focused at collective activities. So not only to increase your own well-being, but together with other people. And in many positive psychology interventions, prayer and meditation are integrated as activities. And this is very welcomed in countries where it is much more important to have connection with religion and with God. So this is one of the findings of the studies there, why I think positive psychology interventions are more effective and very fit well non-Western cultures. Next slide, please. And recently, because I explained earlier, positive psychology point 1 is most focused on happiness from an American perspective, while positive psychology 2 has more integration of Buddhism and of Taoism, of the Chinese approach. But over the past years, we have seen an increasing number of studies from a more Islamic context, studies that were done by people from countries such as Iran. Many studies came from Iran, focused on positive psychology, and in the Middle East. And there is actually a very interesting difference between the Islamic conception of happiness, the difference between that and the Western perspective. Because in the Western perspective, happiness is about me having as much as positive emotions. Whereas in Islam, the life we lead at the moment is less important than our life in the afterworld. You know, we are only here for a very short time, but the more important life is the life after that. And what brings meaning in life, and people in Islamic context, is worshiping Allah, serving Allah. That contributes to the meaning of life. And you can only, one of the tenets is also that you can only attain peace and joy through submission to the will of Allah, to the divine, submission to the divine laws of Sharia. And according to the Islamic conceptions of happiness, you can only attain happiness, true happiness, if you actualize your spirit, by following the ordinances, the rules of Islam. That's the way to happiness. Can I have the next slide?
Okay, wait a second.
There's much to be found. I mean, I included some references, and if you would like to have some research, I can share it with Professor Tawfik on the Islamic approach of positive psychology. One model I found very interesting is that if you want to find balance, according to the Islam, they recognize 3 different states, and they have the 3 types of self. One self is your ordering or inciting or the evil commanding self. That's the negative part of you. Then there's also the self that is blaming itself, that is reproachful, that accuses itself, that says, I'm guilty. And there's also the peaceful self, the true nature of the self. And coming to well-being is about finding the balance, or moving from these other 2 states of the self, which bring you imbalance, to the state of balance. And in this model presents that in a way, and you can link certain activities or interventions also to attaining that balanced state. Can I have the next?
My computer responds slowly, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think we have so many people attending. That's why I think it is slower, because there are over 450 people. So that's why my computer also says. One of the other aspects, and I would like to ask Jeng to a bit about it, because we're exchanging ideas. And one was the concept of karu jiwa. And this also is something that could fit well into the positive psychology, because I think in a new form of positive psychology, we should not only, we should integrate also the knowledge from other traditions than the Western psychology, than the Buddhist psychology. And I think the time has come for a new type of positive psychology. And Ajeng told me about this system. Could you tell something to the students about this?
Okay, about karu jiwa.
Yeah.
Briefly, in Indonesian or English, Dr. Tommy?
What for you is perhaps in Indonesian is better.
Okay, about tentang karuh jiwa. Jadi ini memang sebenarnya ahlinya Bu Nani, tapi saya mengadopsi teori ini untuk penelitian saya selanjutnya dan sudah diskusi dengan Dr. Tommy. Jadi karuh jiwa ini merupakan aliran dari Jawa, Javanese value.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
There is someone in the group that is also interested, probably not Bahasa speaking.
English. So, okay.
First
okay.
tell them Bahasa, and then make
or you can do both.
Also in English.
Okay, maybe Sir Wenli can translate into Java. Okay.
Excuse me, but I am not that good in the Bahasa Indonesia.
Okay. I'll do in English first and in Indonesia. Next. Okay. Yeah, about the karuh jiwa. Karuh jiwa is come from the Javanese value and built by Suryo Mataram Kingdom in Yogyakarta, and told about how people empowering or maximize their potential, such as how to control their desire, how to control their self, and how to introspect their self, such as if I have a strength and I have a weakness, how we can do the next. And it's more make the people who believe in karuh jiwa more calm and more relaxed when got the problem. In Kauruh Jiwa, there is some quotes, bunga susah, langgeng bunga susah. Maybe Sir Wenli know about this. Yeah, happy and sad is paired, not a contradict each other, but it's a pair. Because after we got the happiness, we also get the sadness. If I have an example, if after we graduate from school, we're feeling so happy, but after we got the happiness, we also get the sadness, such as so I have to work and I have to looking for or figure out the job outside and make the sadness. And it's very a pair, not a contradict each other. It's some of value in Kauruh Jiwa, and maybe we can discuss more about the Kauruh Jiwa next because yeah, we have the limited time.
Yes.
And in Indonesia mungkin sedikit tentang Indonesia. Jadi Kauruh Jiwa untuk mahasiswa psikologi UMS sudah dikembangkan oleh Bu Nani juga di mata kuliah kepribadian timur yang dikembangkan oleh Surya Mentaram. Jadi salah satu quotes yang terkenal adalah langgeng bunga susah, bahwa susah dan senang itu tidak berlawanan satu sama lain, tapi sebuah pasangan, di mana itu akan silih berganti berputar. Jadi setelah senang pasti susah, setelah susah pasti senang. Jadi jangan terlalu don't be overacting if you get the happiness or the sad, because you will get the happiness after sad. You will feeling sad after happiness. Yeah, it's a common in Kauruh Jiwa. Jadi seperti itu mungkin. I think it's enough about the Kauruh Jiwa, Dr. Tom.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah,
the book on Kauruh Jiwa, it's not in English available, is it?
Yeah, I have this book in Indonesia.
But there's no English version of it?
I'm not find yet about the English version.
Maybe in the future we can translate it for. Okay.
Yeah, this will be a big project with Prof. Taufik.
Exactly.
As well.
Okay, can I have the next slide?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the approaches which I think is full of knowledge about how to attain the self is the Sufi. In Sufism, it's the mystical branch of the Islam, and they wrote a lot about actually becoming the self. And I'm currently reading a book called Living Presence, and Living Presence is actually the Sufi way of translating the concept of mindfulness. It's about being in the present, and one of the most the whole practice of prayer in Islam is a practice of mindfulness, because everything that you do during the prayer has a symbolic meaning and has a higher meaning. And if you go into the prayer 5 times a day, you are in being mindful at that time. It's all about being there and getting the connection. So for those who are interested in more the Islamic approach of mindfulness, they should really could learn about the Sufi path to mindfulness. Can I have the next one? And there's also a
yeah, my PC getting lower.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. In my research, I focus much on the yoga philosophy, and in the yoga philosophy, there are energy channels that contribute to our well-being, chakras. But I also found that in the Islamic culture and in Sufism particularly, these chakras, they are also, the knowledge of chakras is also there. In Sufism, it's called Latifa, and every energy center has a counterpart in Sufism, but both in Islam. So it would be really interesting to further explore this knowledge also from Sufism and Islam, because there's a lot of connecting grounds with also with yoga, with Western psychology, and with the Buddhist psychology. Can I have the next slide?
Yeah.
So why is it important to have the knowledge from the Islamic context, get it to the Western countries? For example, what I do with my work, I work for a company called GZA, which is it's the healthcare service that takes care of the healthcare of the people, of the refugees in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, we have about 35,000 people, or no, about 33,500 people every year fleeing to the Netherlands. And they mostly come from Islamic countries like Syria, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq. And they are living at centers before they get into Holland. Then they first have to wait for a while in the center, and then they are placed across the Netherlands. But when they're in their center, their well-being is really bad. And many of them also have traumatic experiences. And GZA, I developed a program, a positive psychology program called the Bamboo Program. And the Bamboo Program is 5 sessions of 2 hours. First session, we teach people about resilience, and they do practices to increase their resilience. In the second lesson, they talk about positive emotions, about negative emotions, and we practice gratitude. We practice other exercises to increase the positive emotions and to accept the negative emotions. Then we have a session on character strengths, where people, they learn about what their good qualities are. They discover that and they practice it together. Then in the 4th session, they express their gratitude. They do gratitude prayer. They write a gratitude letter. They pay a gratitude visit after that to their family or friends. And then at the 5th session, we have a program on positive goals. So setting a positive goal and then surrendering that goal to the will of Allah. And as you can see by the pictures, I think about 70 or 80% of the people who go into the program, they have a Muslim background. They practice the Islam, and they're mostly from Syria, and like I said, Syria, Iran, Iraq, and many women attend the program. And this program really increases the well-being of the people who participate in it. And it would be, and currently I am also further developing that program, and it would be nice to have more influences and from the Islamic perspective to integrate that into the program. Can I have the next slide? And perhaps the Bamboo Program would also be interesting. If I ever have the opportunity to come to Indonesia again when there are no more lockdowns, I would love to do that. So I would like to end, we almost at the end of the presentation. I would suggest we would go towards a positive psychology 3.0. And that does not only focus on happiness and focus on negative emotions, but focuses on self-realization, that is truly becoming one, truly becoming what Abraham Maslow deemed as the highest state people can achieve. The highest state of well-being is through this realization of the self, which occurs when the self connects with the divine. And this means that we not only look at the Greek philosophy or the Christian doctrines or the Buddhist ideas about well-being, but include the knowledge, the true knowledge of all major world religions, including knowledge from the Islam and Sufism and other Vedic traditions. This is a positive psychology that would be much more culturally sensitive, because it will integrate the knowledge from all perspectives, not only from Western and Buddhist perspective. And it can truly contribute to a more holistic approach of well-being. And I hope that we are currently, through this connection with your university, we can start sharing information and working on this, because, and it may take many years, but we have to build. If you build a house, you start by building one. You're putting one stone, you start building that wall, and within a few years' time, you have a great building. So And I would leave it to that. Yeah, so positive sleep. I think the concept of surrendering is very important for Western people. That's a very difficult concept, that you surrender your ego to the will of the divine, to be devoted to God. That's very different in Western perspectives. And we could also study much of the character strengths which are not quite yet integrated in Western in positive psychology, like innocence, purity, or chastity, which is totally being neglected in the Western world, but which is very important. Chastity in the Islamic culture and also in the Indian culture.
Yeah.
We could study.
Tommy, I'm
yeah?
sorry. I think the time's up, and you can explain it briefly. Maybe I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just about to finish we could also study about harmony. Rukun is a very known concept in the Japanese or the Surinamese Japanese community, or we could focus on emotional detachment, and I thought that also is a part of the Kuru, the study you are doing. So the next slide, I think we reached the end. Yeah, now we can come to the questions. And perhaps you could stop sharing the screen and I can see the participants.
Okay, yeah. There is some questions in chat column in Zoom. Maybe I'll bring for the participant to asking directly to you. Is it okay for you?
Yeah.
Dr. Tommy answer. Ya, oke. Untuk partisipan yang ingin menyampaikan pertanyaannya langsung atau pendapatnya langsung, bisa langsung untuk unmute atau raise hand terlebih dahulu jika mungkin masih ada kendala untuk unmute. Oke, silahkan bisa. Oke, Tarmila. You can unmute yourself and asking directly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Tommy. What a wonderful, a great speech, a great presentation.
Thank you.
I have a good insight from your presentation. Now I know about that positive psychology reached 3.0.
It's very what?
I think that culture influence so much with the happiness with people, a person. Yeah. And when the collectivistic people live in a collectivity society, the shape of happiness is influenced by the society too. And then when in individualistic person live in individualistic, the culture will influence the shape of the happiness too. So how about the people, immigrants, when they move from collectivistic culture, move to the individualistic culture, I think that the shape of the happiness, the meaning of the happiness, the search of the meaning will different, or if different, will he feel happiness or like lose himself? Jadi kayak kalau pindah budaya, apakah dia akan kehilangan dirinya sendiri gitu ya?
Jadi sudah bisa dipahami.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Tommy.
Thank you very much for your compliments.
Are you got the point, Dr. Tommy?
Yes, I think it's very, very clear what term.
Clearly, okay.
That's in when people, the immigrants or the refugees, for them, the culture is very, very much more important. But they're taken from that culture into a new culture, and that's one of the reasons they are also not very happy, because they have to adapt to a new system.
Yeah, I think the question about the immigration from Javanese to Suriname in that time,
Yes.
from the community. I think non-individualistic to individualistic community like Japanese people in that time. Maybe Mr. Wenli can answer this question.
Yes, I think that the culture in Indonesia and in Suriname, we both have a holistic environment. So if you have the Western society, those will be more individualistic. So it was not hard for the people from the immigrants from Indonesia to adapt to the Suriname circumstances, and more they could bring their own culture and religion, and they were free to do that, to perform that in Suriname. So we have the same level of well-being which they brought from Indonesia and Suriname. Also, the people came to Suriname to have a better future, because that is what they have been told by the people who brought them as immigrants to Suriname. So I think they have they were striving to become better, and to go back to their home country and to their family with a lot of wealth. That's why they reached that level of well-being.
Thank you, Mr. Wenli.
Okay. Is it clear, Mr. Milia?
Yes, clear enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question comes from Muhammad Yazid. Muhammad Yazid, you can unmute yourself.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the explanations. I'd like to ask to Dr. Tom Hendricks. I really interested in the growth and fixed mindset by Carol Dweck.
Yes.
In my opinion, having a growth mindset is really helpful in everyday's life. But there is a new challenge when we switch from the fixed mindset that somebody have to a growth mindset that can lead to some depressions or anxiety for themselves. Is there any tips to how we can make this changing of the mindset to be a lot easier and to be a lot comforting for that people? Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's a good question, Mohammed. Thank you. I think that could be answered by another theory in positive psychology, which is called the broaden and build theory by Barbara Fredrickson, which she mainly says that if we increase the amount of positive emotions in our life and have a more ratio of positive versus negative experiences, getting more positive emotions in our life will broaden our attention. And so we can, and in that way, we change the mindset actually, because if you are focused more on the positive aspects in life, you will become more creative. You will actually broaden also your attention, and how you should broaden it's not something I can answer in 1 minute. There are so many different roads and different paths how we can create more positive emotions in our life. It's not, it is quite complex. It is possible, yes. You can change your mindset through practice of either positive emotions or certain forms of meditation. You can focus more on, and then there's also a lot of neurological evidence that such practices really change your brain structure. So you can does a little bit satisfy your answer? Yes, there are ways, but for that you have to dive a lot deeper into the literature.
Okay, thank you. But is there any recommendation of book that I can read it in case to make my mindset is a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset.
Yeah. What is what you say?
A recommendation of book from you that I can read it.
Well, in the literature list, you can actually read the Carol Dweck. She did write a book on. What I will do is I will try to find some literature and I will send it to Professor Tawfik by Carol by the growth mindset. And actually, the book that was in the presentation, I think the Sufi path to mindfulness is a really interesting book on how to decrease your perspective and also from a way that it's more common to your religion.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think that's enough.
But I will send some information to Professor Tawfik and he can share it with you.
Okay. I'm sorry, I lost the communication. I just come to my friend there. Ajeng, can you share it to me now about Yazid's question or something like that?
Pardon, can you repeat?
About the conversation between Yazid and Tommy. About what?
About the mind, how to change the mind, and Dr. Sam will give some theory or maybe reference to you and deliver to Yazid, right? Dr. Sam?
Okay.
Yeah. What I said is basically there's not one solution. Okay, if you want to change your mind, you do this. You take. It's not like medicine. There are different approaches, many different approaches.
Yeah.
I think that everybody. Yeah.
I am very live. I'm happy when you refer Islamic theory from the Quran, from the Hadith. This is very, very a big effort from you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that would also be if you present it to me because there's so much available and perhaps to read about that and tell also for the Javanese because, for example, the research Ajeng is doing, I know there's a lot of theories from but it's not in English available, so I cannot.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
You can, Tommy. You can looking for a theory from Al-Ghazali. Al-Ghazali is many theories from Al-Ghazali. Imam Al-Ghazali have theories of positive psychology. Maybe you can search the book from the bookstore in Netherlands.
Yes, put the reference in the chat box or share it with me.
Because Imam Al-Ghazali wrote a book about the title about the chemistry of happiness.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Yazid, I show certainly send a reference and maybe you can reverse after that. And for Sir Tommy, I'll write the Al-Ghazali in chat. Maybe you can spelling it well. And for the next, Miss Lucy, it's your turn.
Thank you. It's really interesting lecture, Dr. Tommy. I have one question for you and one question for Pak Wenli. The first is about discussion with some friends about positive psychology, and some people things and sometimes mix up with positive psychology and positive thinking and positive psychology. So some people think that positive thinking is positive psychology. Positive psychology is positive thinking. Like that. So maybe you can explain to us and our students what the point and maybe what different and what about this to maybe positive psychology is a paradigm, and positive thinking is smaller, but please explain about this. And second question, I want to ask to, sorry, I call Pak Wenli. It's really interesting about gotong royong because in Japanese alone, the spirit of gotong royong, I think it's less than a few years ago, but we can see the spirit in disaster context, but in daily life, I think like sambatan, it's difficult for us now to see sambatan, to build like house or building, but in Suriname it still exists. It's really interesting. So my question is, from your perspective, how the community in Suriname could maintain this spirit, and what best practice or what people do to maintain the spirit of gotong royong? Maybe you can share it with us. Thank you. That's my question for Dr. Tommy and Pak Wenli.
Well, I think it is actually, if the question is how can we maintain such a program, I think first of all people have to have the desire to work in that way, and then they actually have to do it and actually achieve something. And when it is achieved, I think the media in that has a large role in it. We should pay attention to it and should publish or put in the media the results of such a project. And then you could also underbuild it with the theory from positive psychology. Why? You know, it's not only building a house, but you build the qualities. You build the qualities of harmony. You build the qualities of teamwork. It's not only a building you build a culture. And if we can express that better, so many people know more about such projects, people will become more enthusiastic to follow up on that project. Wenli, do you have any ideas how you would, because the building is almost ready, what are the next steps?
Yes, thank you for the question. Dr. Tommy said it right. You can do like promotion to go back. The thing is that we are always, and for I think everywhere, moving towards the Western socialization and the principle. So we see as the Western community to be like the one we want. The same happens in Suriname, where we also, because of the life is becoming harder, we're moving to more individualistic, and we first need to help ourselves before we can help others. The thing is that if we want to go back into what worked before, and what we see that we can have the communities work together, people work together, and to help each other. Because I think, Tommy, one of the interventions we had in Suriname in our research to reach a high level of happiness and well-being is like a random act of kindness, to be kind and to help others. And it has proved that that is one of the interventions that helps for the people to reach a high level of well-being. So helping each other also makes you happy, make other people happy, makes you happy. And the gotong royong principle is helping someone else and helping other people, like in the village or in the family. And by seeing that other people become happy, you will reach a higher level of well-being also. In answer of your first question is, Dr. Tommy always told us that there is a distinction between positive psychology and what we call popular psychology, like the self-help movement. The positive psychology is academic, so it has proven sources that this intervention helps. That's not the case with some of the popular principles like help yourself and so. That is the biggest distinction between the academic sources in the positive psychology.
Yeah. And I think also, because if I'm not correct, who is funding the Gotong Royong system, Wendy?
We are doing fundraising, so there is no a particular fund. Everybody helps, and everybody, all the jamaahs, the masjids, with their members, everybody put in some money to do it. Also, we have like fundraising. We have the women in the different mosques. They I don't know if it's the same name. We sold berkat. You know what berkat is?
Yes, we know berkat as well here.
Yes, we sold a lot of berkats, and we can say that before it was being sold, it was sold out. So
so maybe it's different thing. I think maybe the same word but different meaning. I think only.
Berkat is like a dish with a lot of different things in it.
Yeah.
So the funding become also from the society. That is also part of Gotong Royong. So people that couldn't go for the sambatan to help us work, they gave us money to buy material.
Yeah. So I think in such a project, it is very, if you have a building project, it is very important that the people who are in coordination of it are very honest people and are not corrupt and not thinking, okay, now I have a fund to build something, I'm going to make sure I make a lot of money out of it. And that's going back to the roots of, well, basically the religious roots, by living what your principles are, by being honest, by being kind, by being your true self. And that is something, that awareness, that's the awareness that positive psychology also brings to the people who study it. That it's basically you yourself have to change to make the society better. It's up to you. You have to want it and you have to put it in practice. Is that
Yes, thank you,
yes.
Dr. Tommy and Pak Wanle. I love to share more, but maybe through email, Pak Wanle, because it's interesting, because my research is as well about Japanese belief and Japanese culture in the context of disaster, about community resilience in Japanese culture. So I would love to share and discuss further about this with you all. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I think the time is up, Dr. Tommy.
Yes.
No. Yeah. Okay. For the question that maybe not asked yet to Dr. Tommy or Wenli, maybe if Dr. Tommy or Sir Wenli, if you don't mind, maybe the participant can ask directly in person to you by email, maybe, or by your other social media, if you don't mind. You can mention your email address in column, so participant can ask their question. And untuk semua partisipan, untuk rekaman pada hari ini, insya Allah akan di-upload di website Psikologi UMS, dan kami tidak akan mengirimkan rekaman secara personal atau WA personal karena cukup sangat banyak peserta. Jadi silakan mengunjungi alamat website fakultas kami dan mungkin akan segera di-upload. Kemudian selain itu, waktu, jangan lupa mengisi presensi. Okay, Dr. Tommy, Sir Wenli, thank you for your lecture today, and maybe we will taking some photo for documentation. Yeah, I will send it to you both after this. Sir Farouk, Mr. Farouk, can you help me to capture? Yeah. Okay, you can
buka kamera dulu.
Okay. Please for all the participants, please please turn on your camera. Okay. Okay, Sir Farouk, you can start right now.
Forget.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I will help you to counting down. Okay, I will counting until 3 and Sir Farouk can capture our picture. So 1, 2, 3 on first screen. Okay.
There are 70 screen.
Okay, maybe we will take until 3 screen. Okay, the second screen. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. The third screen, maybe the last will be the last. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I think enough. Dr. Tommy and Sir Wenli, we will say thank you for your knowledge, for your lecture, for our student today, and maybe we can make some collaboration after this, and our student can discuss more with you and about discussion more from psychology staff, psychology department staff. How about it, Miss Lucy, Bu Lucy, bagaimana diskusi selanjutnya?
Yes, I think this is interesting, and for Dr. Tommy and also Pak Wenli, if this is fine with you, maybe we can think about next meeting the staff to discuss more. If this is fine with you, we can arrange a meeting to discuss about positive psychology with our staff.
If you ever need any help in setting up a course, then it could support your faculty. If you want to develop a program, we could collaborate in that.
Yeah, that's great, because honestly, we don't have a specific like subject about this year. So I think that's really a nice offer. Thank you.
Yeah, I could discuss it with the professors here and see if we can get a collaboration between our two faculties.
Yes. Thank you. Maybe I or Prof. Taufik will arrange more meetings with you or with Pak Wenli later.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I would also like to thank everybody of you for attending. It's overwhelming, the number of people who are interested. We only had 1 hour and we cannot go deeper into the topics, but hopefully this will come in the future. So I thank you once again for all attending.
Okay. Thank you, Bu Lucy. Yeah.
I also want to thank everyone, and hopefully we can do this once again, but not through Zoom, but in your faculty in Indonesia. Tom and I would love to come there to meet you and to help you out with lecturing.
Yes,
I would really like to see the place where my ancestors came from, so that would.
Yeah, we're happy to host you both later.
We will accompany you to eating Sumatra food in Indonesia, ya, Lucy.
Japanese food.
Japanese food. Nasi Padang. Okay. Okay, I think enough. Thank you for all the participants. Terima kasih semua partisipan. Thank you for Sir Tommy, Sir Wenli, all of the psychology department staff, Miss Isnaya. Miss Isnaya?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ajeng. Our discussion is very interesting. Hopefully there will be other events like this in the future. Amin. Finally, let's close this event by saying Hamdalah together. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. And again, thank you for our speaker, Dr. Tommy Hendricks, And Mr. Wanli Sarjo, thank you, Prof. Taufik, Mrs. Lucy, and Mrs. Ajeng, and all the participants for the kind attention. And last I say you, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sir Tommy, Sir Wenli, Prof. Taufik send a warm regard to you both because he is praying Asar in Indonesia. It's time to Asar, and maybe he cannot attend in this closing part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we understand.
he is still in the masjid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tommy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Wali.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Nice to meet you all.
Bye.
Aduh, Bu.
Yes.
Sir Wenli, I will contact you after this because Mr. Wenli said that Sir Tommy mentioned about my research proposal to him.
Yes, I will be. I'll contact you and Professor Taufik on Monday, and we will after discuss the meeting. Have a short evaluation.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Happy weekend.
Happy weekend.
Okay.